Call this meeting in the Waushara County Planning and Zoning Committee to order. This meeting will begin with a public hearing. Anyone other than the applicant or their representative wishing to speak must register and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator at this time. Following the hearing, we will conduct our monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the application is decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decisions. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of a decision can sign a sheet on the table at the front of the room. Those of you wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for hearing each application is as follows. After the application is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will be asked to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the committee. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the committee's field observations and any staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a short rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone up at the front here, state their name, and direct their comments to the committee. I ask that all testimony be kept brief, no more than 5 minutes, and to the point. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and the recording will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The committee has looked at the property, and the record will reflect these observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal to the circuit court. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. To my right, Jerry Lauer. Far to my left, to my other left, Mike Kapp. In the back, Pat King, John Van Amergren, and myself, Robert Wadel, Todd Waller, our zoning administrator to my right, and Avery Lear, our secretary tonight. The first and only application is Evergreen Campground. Jim Button, owner, Wild Rose, Wisconsin, has made an application for a conditional use with sections 58-236, paragraph B, paragraph 1, 58-361, 58-364, paragraph 3 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to conditionally expand the existing campground and mobile home park by adding 70 additional campsites within the shoreland area. Location: an approximate 17-acre parcel of land known as Government Lot 1, north half, northeast quarter, section 35, town 20 north, range 11 east, Coosa Lake, town of Springwater. Address N5245 24th Avenue. Is the applicant or his representative here?
Buddy, I'm Bob Welch, and is this on?
Yep, you're good.
You're good?
Should be.
Right.
Yep.
I'll be
Not
speaking
just
on,
talk loud.
yeah, I'll be speaking on behalf of Jim Button, who's also here. If there's more questions, he'll be happy to chime in. So pretty simple what it's in front of you today, but I want to give you some background of how we got to today, because that's a little more complicated. I think you were all out on the site and you saw what is happening out there. Jim owned 40 acres of land south of the town land and east of the county land, so it would make a perfect fill-in for the county park out there. And we came to the town and said we're willing to exchange that 40 acres if we could get about 15 from the town on the north end adjacent to Jim's park. An alternative would have been not to do the trade and then to try to develop that 40, but that's removed and there had been a lot of traffic and just wasn't a thing we wanted to go to. So the town took a few years to think about it. This wasn't a quick decision, and we didn't push it. It's not a quick decision that Jim's not looking to develop this right away anyway, but it's something for the future of his park. And so we did come to an agreement, and I think the county parks department was part of that conversation to make sure that it was something that the counties wanted to see on the park land out there as well. And so the swap has been sort of consummated, I guess you'd say, in terms of we've both agreed to do it. But the last piece, really, the last piece is to make sure we have the conditional use approved so that when Jim does go to develop that land, that approval's in place. So you have before you maps, I believe, and the CSM to show the boundary, and then the proposed layout, which meets all the code. It's way less dense than is allowed. We want this to be a quality, nice looking place. We're going to preserve as many of those trees you see out there as we can. And we're only going to do this in phases, so it's going to be a few and then a few and then a few. It's a great piece of land. It's flat. It's very usable. It fits right into the park. There won't be any additional entrances needed. We've already agreed to put up a fence similar to what we have out there now to make sure there's a clear boundary between the park and the campsites, and to keep a boundary, a border around it of trees, buffer zone. Again, meeting or exceeding everything in the code. Jim runs one of, if not the best campgrounds in the country. And I can say that because in 2020, he won Campground of the Year. That is not an easy thing to win. This is a very high quality operation we should all be proud to have here in Waushara County. $6 million annual impact on the county, 10 full-time employees, 50 seasonal workers. This expansion will require a few more workers. So it's going to add a lot to the tax base and the economic vitality of the county. Everything we've done out there has been state of the art in the last decade, and this is going to continue that trend. So we're looking today, we don't need a zone change. It's already zoned right. We're just looking for the final step in this process of the land exchange to approve the conditional use permit. So happy to answer any questions.
All right. Does the committee have any questions?
Yes, I do. We were out there yesterday and walked the Park Road and then on 24th.
Mhm.
Are you planning to keep the growth on 20? It's nice to have the look of the county, the feel of the county, all that stuff. Keep it green and.
Yep.
What's
Yeah,
up
the
with
map.
that?
The map shows about a 50, 60-foot buffer zone of trees along the road there, along 24th. And we would keep that. There'll just be that one spot for an emergency exit, but it won't be a regular exit.
Anybody else? If not, go ahead.
So, what, if this gets passed tonight, when do you plan on starting?
Not for a couple of years, right?
Honest with you, it's not even planned. This is a plan to secure my kids' future.
Yeah.
To let them learn how to, my daughter's 20 down to 12 years old. If dad did it all, they wouldn't have any pride in it. So it's securing something for them to do in the future. And when is that? Well, when they get of age and mature where they can make the decisions on what's best.
Okay, I've got a few, I guess, normal questions. Has there been a survey done when the
have
land
it.
swapped so
Yep.
that you know what's what?
Yep. We
and
recorded
boundaries?
as soon as this is finalized.
Okay, common question we always ask, have you approached any of the adjoining landowners to see what their thoughts are?
I have reached out to a few of the landowners. I'll be honest with you, I've been so busy. Just my campground. I don't just do my campground. I just came from our state convention, flipping burgers. I'm on the state board for the campgrounds. So I'm at the national level, the state level. I'm really busy. Those that I could get to, I did. I reached out, told them what I was going to do. Those that I couldn't reach, excuse me, I didn't. I missed them. So.
And remember, the main neighbor is the town. And we reached out a lot to them.
Have you given any consideration with these potential 70 more campsites, the volume of traffic?
Yeah, so the traffic, the way it comes in, from the north mostly. And so the immediate road in front of the campground where you go into it, but it's 70 sites. They tend to come for a week or more at a time. There's one in and one out. They tend to stay on site. Occasionally they'll go out and visit a supper club nearby or something, but, so they're, 70 in a 400 unit area is not going to be noticeable.
Town of Springwater, Everett, and Paul, and Ed, they understand and they know the traffic that we have. And like Bob said, we have one entrance and that's the way we keep it for the safety and security of everybody. One in, one out. We aren't gonna have any exits except for emergencies, which I'm on the fire department. If for some reason we have something, I could go and automatically open all the gates. Let's hope that never
Are
happens.
these exit, entrance, whatever you're talking about, are they going to be appropriate for these $1 million vehicles? They ain't quite that high price, but these ambulances are not cheap. Fire trucks are not cheap.
Yep.
Are they going to want to go in there? They're going to say, good luck.
Oh, trust me. Trust me. NFPA 1194
Okay.
is a national standard in the RV in the RV industry. And trust me, I sit on that board also
Okay.
with the national level. And as sure as I'm sitting here, I'm a volunteer bus driver for the school. I
Then
drive
you know
the
how
fire
much room
trucks,
it takes.
and I know what it's like. We want them wide
Okay.
open, so definitely.
So the other $1 million vehicles are the units that come into park there, and they're pretty big too. So it's going to work.
There was some on the plan or some discussion I had seen or come across. There's a pond or a low area. Are you gonna try to dig that out and expand that or leave it natural groundwater?
It's kind of like a pool, but it's a more natural feature.
But
So
you
we're
have
not digging
no-
down to groundwater.
Because there is,
It's a line.
we all know it can be drier than the
Yep.
desert. And that would affect or could potentially some of the other lakes in the area.
So,
I mean, if
Well,
you were
this-
to dig her down 500 feet or whatever.
This is like 100, this is like the size of this room.
I
we're
understand
talking.
that, but I'm just.
Yeah, no, we're not digging down. It's going to
okay,
be a
you're just
line.
gonna
Yeah.
Improve what's there.
it's gonna be a
Yep.
recreational area for kids to play.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
leave a green space in the middle. Again, this plan is, that we've submitted is something of today's world thinking about tomorrow. So.
Yeah.
We wanted a recreational area, playground, green space, things like that, bathhouse.
Then there was some discussion. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just going by what I was heard. At certain times, you only allow entrance to the campground at a such and such a time, and there's congestion on the roads and people are concerned about walking on the public road. Is that an issue that can be remedied or?
So we allow, because we are so busy, we close it off on the weekend so that, because we can't accommodate the guests that are there first.
Okay,
As far as entering and exit, we have a staging area when people come in, something of, again, today's world is called express check-in. And so, we're working diligently with trying to do what is called express check-in, where, everything's ready for you. All you have to do is punch in the code and you go through. So we're working on implementing that system. So it's a drive in and go. But again, in our industry, we want to make sure that people are who they are and license plate numbers and things like that are
and
taken care of.
Yeah, but
is
there's a-
there a place where they can, some of these travel trailers are half as big as a semi.
Mhm.
They go by your driveway or whatever, and then they go turn around in people's driveways and potentially, is there some concern where you could simplify where they could turn around or
So-
whatever?
Well, they come in and it's a huge area. I don't know if you saw it when you're out there. I mean, there's a huge area. You
Right.
could fit 6 or 7,
So-
8 of them in there. So,
Okay.
So when people come, I'll say that 78% of our business comes from the Fox River Valley. And they're all coming from mainly Highway 10. And they come through Saxville. And when they do, we have signs all the way from Highway 10 directing them. And they're all the same. And when you get to the corner of the intersection of 24th and Aspen, there's a sign that directs them. When you get just 200 feet to the west of that sign, there's a sign there that says, "This is not the driveway, proceed ahead." And then when you get to the driveway, there's a sign that says staging area to your right.
Yeah.
So, and plus we have individuals out there that are
Patrolling it or policing it?
telling the campers where to go,
Yeah.
how to register and things like
yeah,
that.
we have a huge return business.
Okay.
So you might miss the driveway once, but you're not going to miss it again.
I just have a question because it came up on our walkthrough. Is there a specified time in terms of when people can access the park? And we had heard 3 o'clock.
So check-in is at 3:00. Can they come in earlier? Sure, if the site's open, it's just like the hotel. If the beds are made and everything's taken care of, you can do an early check-in. If for some reason, Johnny Camper didn't leave maybe he's still there at 2:00 because he wants his money's worth. We've got to wait until he leaves before the next camper can get on there.
Any other questions from the committee?
I assume that when you make this expansion, you're going to expand the sewer and water.
Mhm.
I should say sewer and water, but you're going to have a large septic system to handle the new sites.
Absolutely. So
Yep.
the infrastructure will be well and improved. Had conversations already with Adams Columbia Electric. They know about it. It's been on the back burner. As far as their planning, our wells, I've already been in contact with a well driller, whatever Mary wants at the county level and state level, Jim Klobonic will do as we always.
Any other questions from the committee? This time? Anything else you want to add at this time?
No, we know that, I don't know what everyone's going to talk about tonight, but the approval tonight, I just remind everyone, is about the layout of the campground. That's what the approval is about. So,
All right, gentlemen
Thank
can
you.
have a seat.
Thank you.
Correspondence?
Okay. We did receive an email from Patty Williams, who's the former town of Springwater treasurer. It's dated May 11th. First part of it is regarding a different project, so I'll just go straight on. It says also Jim Button from Evergreen Campsites and Resorts spoke with the board about the trade between Evergreen Campsite and the town of Springwater. And they have approved the trade of land for Jim to set up approximately 65 to 70 new campsites on the property. If you need some other type of approval for these items, please let me know and I'll see that I can get it to you. Thanks, Patty Williams. And that's all we have in terms of correspondence.
All right. At this time, anyone wishing to speak in favor?
I have nobody registered to speak in favor. I do have several people registered to speak in opposition.
All right.
Jill Steg?
I am Jill Stieg. My
Sorry.
husband, Scott, and I have the property across the road and 52, no, we're pretty new to the area, and 5266 24th Avenue. So we are the old Clarence Freiberg property. Maybe everybody recognizes that name, but so first of all, I have never seen the proposed layout. I'm obviously one of the neighbors that was never approached, as are my 2 side neighbors on both sides of me. We're all here tonight. We are directly across from the park entrance on both sides. So our concerns are many. We have a lot of traffic, and this is just going to add to it. We have concerns about the lake and how many more people will be in it. 70 campsites, potentially 2 people minimum is 140. Now add 2 more kids, you know, how many people is that? 280 people. How many total sites are in this campground? I'm not saying it's not a lovely campground, but it does impact the community. Those people are in that campground and they're not really coming out. If you bring in a 5th wheel, unless you have a chase car to come with it, you're not coming out to go out to Benny's and go out and spend your money. You brought your provisions. I'm a camper. I bought a property with what used to be 13 acres. We have 4.5 acres. We bought that property to give up camping, to have kind of a peaceful, so we didn't have to go anywhere else, as many other people around that campground did. We all used to be campers. We appreciate camping and what it offers for a family. And I appreciate that he's trying to plan for his future for his children. That's great. But I'm not quite convinced that it's not a manipulation right now for a future sale to somebody else who I don't know. I don't know that, and you don't know that. So I do have concerns about it. I have further concerns. Emergency, we bought that property, and within a month, we got hit with one of the worst storms for our property to ever seen. And you have now all those people in there, and do they have sufficient tornado shelter to put them all? That's a lot of people, and it could be a very dangerous situation. Probably about 30 years ago, my husband was in that campground with our 2 boys trying to get out during a tornado. It's a bottleneck. It's a lot of people. It's a safety concern. It's a concern for the lake, the fish population, and then even your local residents who come from all over to swim at that beach. And there are a lot of children whose families can't afford to go camping. That's all they have. And now you're overpopulating that whole area with added whatever, pontoon, paddle boats, jet skis, whatever, with those added people, which is possibly close to 300 people on any given weekend. Then you've got the roadways, which is just another issue that I'm concerned with. I come from Appleton. I follow those campers right to my frickin' front door. Here they all come, one RV after another. 70 campsites. That's Friday traffic coming in on top of the additional ones. Then every Sunday, it's like a frickin' race rate trying to get out of there because one after another. Do the math. They're open from April until October. I did the math. That's 3,200 cars going in 6 months with 70 more campsites, not even counting how many they had. I didn't even know how many they have. So in 6 months, 7,200 trips of heavy RV, 5th wheel campers coming down that road. Who pays for that? My little trailer property tax, he's got one tax bill that's going to pay for all of the income he's bringing in right to his property. I don't get to share in that wealth. You know, that's great for him. But as a taxpayer, you know, he'll take up a little more of the tax burden. That should help us all, right? Great. But ultimately, the corner at A and 24th, there's big potholes. When you make the turn, there's big divots, there's road damage. And if he's going to pay that and bear that burden for all the road repairs for that traffic that's coming right to his front door, fantastic. I don't care, then let him pay for it. But they also are coming out of the other end because they come right past my front door. That's not the only way they're coming in. They're coming in off of H and then coming up the south past Lewisimo and, you know, that way and in too. So you can't just say it's one direction.
Could we wrap up, ma'am? I appreciate it, but we've got a lot of other ones, so we want to give everybody a little chance.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next.
Also registered to speak in opposition is Kathy Elseler, or I'm sorry, Elsesser. Sorry.
Okay, my name is Kathy Elsesser, and I live on W5598 Springwater Drive. First of all, I want to say, my husband and I we support businesses in our community and in Springwater, Wild Rose, and Saxville. So it's not against business. I don't have a problem with people having businesses, but I do have some concerns. He talked about the transportation and the cars coming in and out. Well, we live on Springwater Drive. It's a private drive. And I got to tell you, the summertime, it's hell because they're coming in to their entrance, either from 10 or from GH, coming from A. They take different tours and they go past our road and they turn around in our road often. Our road is maintained by us. We have to do our own plowing. We have to do any repairs. And so the more traffic we come in, I have a dog. We've got kids in our yard, in our neighborhood. They come through there like crazy. They do. And where's Evergreen? Down that way to your right. And there are times when there are before 3 o'clock where it's all the way down to my area in Springwater, all the way down going towards GH. It's crazy. The road is full of people waiting to get in. So that is a concern of mine. I'm also concerned about if we're going to have 70 people adding to this campsite, what kind of, do we have restrictions on how many canoes and kayaks and all that are going on? As it is right now, there are so many people in there without these 70 campsites, potentially 300 people, that even taking a small pontoon, you have to be so careful because they go way past the buoys. You have to hope to goodness that they don't pop out another 100 feet out this way. They don't stick to where they're supposed to be. There's canoes, kayaks, kids, jet skis, unsafe. And I came up here to enjoy the beautiful Springwater. Cousel is a beautiful, beautiful little lake, but it's only 79 acres or 74. It's really tiny. Having too many people on there, it's a concern. For safety, I enjoy fishing. My husband enjoys fishing, and they mull it up all day long, and then it's time to go fishing at night. It's pretty much done, pretty much. So that was one of the other concerns. You answered my question about the fencing in, so that's very good. But I just would like to say, please consider that, the safety of the people that are there. I have a great deal amount of friends around there. I don't have a problem with being kind and having a good business, but think about your neighbors. Your neighbors are the people that support you. And please think about how we feel if this was your front yard and we have all these people going in your front yard. Thank you.
Next.
Registered to speak in opposition, Elizabeth Miller.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Miller. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to talk this evening. My husband and I live at N5242 24th Avenue, which is actually just across the street from the county park entrance. County park people actually come into our driveway to turn around because they turn the wrong direction, but that's neither here nor there. We've been there for about 15 years. We bought the place because we love Wild Rose and love the area and not being in a city. We did buy it with the understanding that there are not just Evergreen, there's a number of campgrounds in the area. However, we did buy it in the winter, so I don't think we completely understood how noisy campgrounds can be. However, we did buy it with the understanding that we were surrounded by campgrounds. Currently, as we speak, it's the off season, so it's a little bit quieter over there, but once we get into full swing, There is a train that will be running and blowing, tooting its horn, whatever it is, being noisier than we would like. Knowing that other people do fireworks as well. It can't be all on Evergreen. However, there is a lot of noise late at night and into the morning. My husband and I both get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock to go to work. So when there's 1 a.m. noise and you're trying to get up for work at, 3, 4 o'clock, a couple hours later, work becomes a real challenge because you're overtired. This proposal means that we are not necessarily in the area of a campground. The campground is actually going to be right across from me. And I understand ending basically where our driveway is, we're in that vicinity. That being said, 70 campsites is a lot. What is going to be done to lessen the impact of the added noise and traffic for those who are his neighbors? Also, I do not know, so this is a question, is the beach actually included in this trade? If not, how does adding 70 sites affect and impact the locals that use this beach? I know that Jim has his own beach over at Evergreen. I don't know how you're going to be able to contain 70 sites worth of people not using Kuzel Lake. And as Jill said earlier, families in the area, a lot of local people in the Springwater area and Wild Rose do use the lake as their little getaway and everything. I know that when I have friends and family come over, we do go over and swim in the lake at the county park as well. So how is that 70 sites going to affect and impact the locals that use the beach, and what is going to be done? Earlier, I know they addressed the traffic issue, and we've talked about it a couple of times. However, if you have ever tried to get in and out of 24th Avenue on a Friday evening or a Sunday morning, it is already substantially impossible. 70 more vehicles coming in for 70 more sites or more, because sometimes there's friends visiting and everything else as well. So we're not limiting it to 70. There will be a substantial increase in the congestion at the nearby stop signs on 24th Avenue, including but not limited to the damage that is done on the roads because of those campers. When they come in, they actually, doesn't matter what direction, a lot of times they turn so that they're missing, and then they're kicking out all of the gravel that's on the edges of the corners, causing major ruts, so that it is not really safe for anybody else. In addition to, I have one more thing, and it sounds funny, because Evergreen is a campground and people are there supposedly to enjoy the outdoors. However, I have found in the past that the internet is affected. When the summer comes, you still have people watching Netflix on their iPads. You still have everything. A couple years ago, we did have the internet company do a major increase in their product that they run to the houses for the locals. However, with a 70 site increase, I feel like that upgrade will not be substantial enough so that the internet that I pay for will actually work and function according to what I pay for, and my internet will decrease. And I do know that some people in the area work from home and depend on that as something that they need. So number of questions. I hope that we can get some answers, and thank you again for listening.
Thank you. Next one.
Last person to speak in opposition, Kevin Miller.
Good evening. My wife just was up here speaking. Yes, we do live directly across the street. I guess one of my main things was when we moved in 15 years ago, we bought a house across from a county park, assuming that that would be, as a government entity, we were assuming that it was going to stay a county park. Now changing that into a campground, that's definitely going to affect the resale values of our houses and that kind of stuff, because we are not as secluded in Wilderness as we used to be. And as Elizabeth also stated, getting up in the morning, I mean, I know they claim they have quiet hours over there, but yeah, fireworks at midnight are not real conducive to a good sleeping pattern. Like I said, I don't have much. Jill and Elizabeth stole most of my thunder, so and as was stated by Evergreen's representative, most of their campers stay there. They admitted it themselves. This is not going to be great economic impact for the community. It's going to make them more money, but the rest of the community, not so much. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Um,
Next.
Okay, we have a few individuals registered only in opposition but wishing not to speak. Registered in opposition, Scott Stieg, Alex L. Seltzer Jr., and Eugene Rhetoric. I have also one more individual registered to appear and speak for informational only is Deb Girick.
Hi, thank you. My name is Deb Girick, and my husband and I live at W5496 Aspen Road. So we're on Coosa Lake, but we're in the slough part directly across from where Evergreen. We can see all their activities, the beach activities and things like that. I think, again, I'm not here to oppose what Mr. Buttons is trying to do. I just want to say, there are some concerns. Many of them have been addressed, but I think we need to stay on top of some of the bigger ones. And one of them for us is, and it's been mentioned a couple of times, the pressure this could bring on the lake by adding 70 additional campsites, whether it be watercraft or fishing or anything like that. They talked about the beach. I understand that Evergreen has their own beach, but when you're moving it this much closer to the public area, I think people would start using the public area instead of staying on Mr. Button's side. Again, just a concern and hopefully something that I think Mr. Buttons, as a good business owner, will monitor and maybe be able to alleviate some of these concerns. But one of the big ones also is, and it was addressed, and I know when I met with the group of you yesterday to walk the area, the septic systems. This is a lot of additional pressure. It's waste and water, both. And I don't know enough about it to talk, in global terms, but I'm just going to suggest that maybe holding tanks would be a better fit for something like this when you're enhancing a park. I don't know that, but I'm going to suggest from past experience that might be helpful. And I don't know if it's an option. And the other thing that this young lady brought up, and I don't think it's funny, I think it's very, very important and very serious. And in Evergreen's, on their website itself, they readily admit when they have people coming to their campground, bandwidth is an issue. And we all know it's an issue in any of our urban communities. We also know that there is some plans in place to increase it and enhance it. But I think that takes people going to the right people. I'm not going to be that person, but I will suggest that maybe Mr. Buttons could be that person and talk to the powers that be to get the grants to help with bandwidth in our area. So I think that's all I had. A little concerned about the water levels, but we all are at all the time. But this wouldn't, I don't think, enhance that. Thank you.
Is that it then for?
Yep.
All right,
Do you want me to go ahead?
staff comments?
Okay. I believe everyone should have a copy of the final rendition of the staff report. Just very briefly, summary of the request. The applicant, Jim Button, owner and operator of the Evergreen Campground, is requesting a conditional use to expand an existing campground and mobile home park by adding 70 additional campsites within the shoreland area of the town of Springwater. As stated by the applicant, this has been in the works for quite a while. And it just came to fruition, last year, where both parties agreed, for the land swap. Jim Button owned a 40-acre tract of land at the corner of Aspen and 24th, disjointed from the existing park, or I should say disjointed from his existing campground. And then in between there was campsite. So the exchange was to put this in an area that would be more conducive to an expansion and also allow for possibly a larger park site. I know from talking with the town, there is talks about turning that over to Waushara County, to our camp, or I should say our parks and recreational activities. Now, the committee did visit the property at the recent onsite on Wednesday, March 16th. In addition, several nearby residents came out to the onsite and toured the property with the committee. As stated here, and I'm just going to reiterate, the residents did raise concerns over the expansion of the park and more specifically over the amount of traffic that's generated by the existing park and that of the expansion. They were also concerned that this will exacerbate the current condition. They did identify numerous situations where campers were using town roads for backing up and turning around. And while the committee was generally supportive of the expansion, they did feel, though, that the existing park and the proposed expansion would be adequately buffered by existing landscaping and proposed setbacks. They did state, though, that we want to talk to the applicant regarding the traffic situation. A couple of things I'd like to point out to everyone in attendance. Number one, the county, and that does do notification within 300 feet. So any nearby adjacent property owner within 300 feet of the park should have received notification of the public hearing. And at that time, there was always an indication to the public that our plans, the plans and that are free for viewing. With regard to lake frontage, there was a CSM that submitted, which outlines the parameters of the property. The existing park, or I should say the western boundaries of the park, are some 83 feet plus or minus to the internal roadway for the park road. And then probably another 150 to 200 feet beyond that to water's edge. So the existing, or I should say the proposed expansion, is not going to be adjacent to or on the shoreline of Coosa Lake. And also we have found in that just from all of our parks that the traffic generation, once people are normally inside there, it's really negligible in terms of going back out onto the roadways. I think it's something that the applicant needs to address in terms of his own, access to the park, maybe, expanding his hours and that allowing people to come in sooner. And maybe with this express, access into the park, maybe that will improve the situation. Staff has reviewed the request, believes a proposed land exchange to accommodate the expansion. It will have a positive impact upon the town and the county, just in terms of tax revenue. The land exchange will bring two separated land uses together, positioning the town for a much larger, more usable park. And it will allow Evergreen an opportunity to expand to meet an ever-increasing demand for additional campsites. While the committee will be making a recommendation on this request later in the evening, staff is recommending approval of the conditional use request, subject to the conditions listed in the report that you have before you.
All right. Did you have anything to add at this time?
Thank you. Just want to talk about internet. As everybody knows, internet's a struggle. Doesn't matter if you're in Hancock, you're in Coloma, where you are. Internet is a struggle. I was at the town board meeting, which I attend regularly at the town board meeting, and there was a gentleman there from Amherst Communications. Town of Springwater was one of the areas in which there was a lack of bandwidth, even to this day. And so what they wanted to do was they wanted to get the townships okay to put their name in a packet to try and get grants and funds available to increase Wi-Fi. I am a huge proponent in Wi-Fi. I get 10 meg at my business, and guaranteed at 6 meg. That's not a lot. So any way that we can increase bandwidth, I'm all for it. I'd like to talk to the powers that be, find out who they are, and get fiber into our area. I mean, we have a tower at the town of Springwater. We have one in Saxville. And I'll say it's an issue we're going to struggle with today, and we're going to struggle with it tomorrow and down the road. It's never going to be enough, because as we sit here right now, every one of us has a smartphone in our pocket, and we can only suck so much out of that straw. So it's something that's concerning. It's the federal government has put money out there for broadband, and they can only do so much. So this supposed communication company, they put the town of Springwater's name in the hat to add it to their form letter to see if they can get a grant, come down into our area and expand it. So I hope that happens for everybody, and not just the town of Saxville, Wild Rose, Mount Morris, and so on. So.
And I'll just add, I'm aware that there's a big project going on in Waushara County right now that's tied up with the county system. And I think everyone will get a lot more for that. And having a big campground across the road means you'll more likely to get better service, I think, because they're going to target that kind of user base. Just a couple other things on the traffic. I represent another campground down by Partyville. They just went last year to the automated check-in that Jim's talking about. They went from having backups of 18 to 20. They don't have what Jim has as far as a place to park them while they're waiting. So they're on a town road to 0. I mean, it cleaned it up right away. You just drive in and bing, off you go. So there's no wait. So it'll be a major improvement. So I think a lot of the comments, which I would say maybe were slightly exaggerated, but even if they're true, we're already implementing a system to fix them. And again, so many of our people are repeat users, this missing the driveway and turning around. I'm sure it happens, but it's not going to happen very often because these people are come back. And again, you mentioned it, Todd, but the way this lays out, you've all seen the map, there's going to be a fence, and it's going to go from the entrance at Aspen all the way around, all the way down 24th, no new entrance on 24th, all the way along the town parkland, and then back up. So you can't just walk from your campground to Kuzo Lake Beach. You got to go all the way around. With his water park and facilities, someone's going to do that, but it's not going to be a real common occurrence. I would also point out that this campground has been here for several generations. So it's not like we just moved into town. This has been here. And yes, this is an expansion, but as you know, it's a significant facility already, and people know that. So thank you for the recommendation. Thank you for what I hope you do. We're looking forward to having a quality site here that can serve this county and people, the big demand that's out there for generations to come.
Go ahead.
I just want to say this, that, I want to thank you guys for coming and attending and voicing your opinion. That means a lot to me. What would even mean more to me is if you came over to the campground, had a conversation. That's that old fashioned, hey, let's have a cup of coffee and talk. I know several people here and had relationships. That's all we have to do is sit down and talk. I am concerned about a lot of things too. I have addressed things with the town board and whatnot, walking past, donating part of my land to, make a wider road and, even making a wider shoulder. And they say, you can't spend your money. It's our deal. And I say, hey, I want to do it for the betterment of the town of Springwater, because Evergreen Campsite's been here since 1960, and it'll continue to be here because of the success and the people that have been there and support the industry, like some of the individuals that are here today that have been in our campground, and they found their spot by being at Evergreen. And now they're living here in the town of Springwater. So it comes around. So I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Anything I can answer, please.
Any other questions?
There was some, what question about the noise. Do you have set quiet times and do you enforce them?
Yeah, and we have
So,
a very good relationship with the police. If we have a problem, they're there.
so funny you should say that because I just did a seminar up in Stevens Point 2 days ago with Sheriff Lucas from Portage County, who knows me very well, and we've talked back and forth. You go to the county and you ask them for our ratio. How many times are they at our campground for, medical, fire, emergencies, disorderly conducts? Ask the sheriff that, and you'll find that they're not, for a campground our size, they're not there much. We have security on staff. So our security is there different hours all the time. We'd never say what our hours are because we don't want you to think that between 6 and 9 they're going to be there. They're not really. They're there between 7, 3, 4 in the morning. Also, we do give every sheriff and deputy a card to go into their campground, drive in at their leisure, go check the park out. We have a log system. We know who's coming in and out. We have a gate system so that not just anybody can come in. We are completely fenced in now, so nobody can come in off of the street, steal coolers or whatnot. Things happen, but I want to take every precaution that we can to protect the people that are in there and the people that are out. And as I said, there's individuals in the room right now that know where the campground used to be in the 1970s, and they can rest assured that it's not the same park. These people that are coming, really, I mean, they're investing $140,000 into their truck and their camper. They're not trailer trash. They're very respectable people. So as far as security goes, we don't have an issue.
What is the actual, say I don't have a camper, never have, probably never will. I come in there, is it 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, the lights out, noise down at a lower decibel so that the neighbors who have to get up early, as you heard,
Yep.
can get some peace and quiet and rest?
Yep. So our quiet time is 11 o'clock. We start going around the campground at 10 o'clock. And I'll be honest with you, we do have officers that come through the park also as a double check.
Yeah.
So 11 o'clock, by all means, if my site's here and your site's there, if I can hear you, you're too loud. Where I just came from Portage County and Sheriff Lucas said, if my officer can hear you a quarter mile away, then that's too loud. We say no.
Okay. Hopefully that's all we have at this time.
Great. Thank you.
All right. I will call the regular scheduled meeting to order at this time. And we've heard the public applications. Roll call show that all members are present. The motion is in order to